Okay, welcome to today's office hours or lunch lab. Well, today we're going to do something a little bit different because we're going to talk about figuring out if you want to start a business, how to do so with the experience you currently have. In the last live we did, launch lab we talked about different things. And the question came up like, what if you don't currently have an idea or no? So I thought I'd take today, this last day of 2025, to maybe walk you through some exercises to help you get started thinking about the current experience you have and turning that into an offer for somebody or even a business. Because in the end, all of us really have some skills that can turn into problem solvers for others. I think if we dig deep and really take an inventory, you'll find that you do have some skills. And you really, the biggest part is to go and find out what problem you're going to solve with those skills. That was the most challenging part. Hi, Debbie. How are you? So, um, to get started, I know it can be a little bit difficult to think about, well, yeah, what do I know how to do that other people don't know how to do? It's not about what you know how to do that's like absolutely unique. It may not be unique. It's just the way you do the skills, the way you solve problems. For example, when I started my business, I thought, hey, I've only known how to do like logistical things. I have a logistics and administrative background. What kind of business could I start with that? So when I dug a little deeper, I saw that solopreneurs, a lot of newer solopreneurs and some not so new, aren't very organized in their back end. They usually have what they do, the offer that they do, the coaching or whatever, they have that down pat. But the back end is usually chaos or often chaos. So I did some more research and I was like, wow, so maybe I can help them there. But at first glance, I just thought, I do the same thing everybody else. There's a lot of other people know how to do this. How am I going to make a business out of it? So I invite you to step back from that and think, hey, I'm going to create a business, an income stream, whatever you want to call it, with my existing experience. Because as you grow and learn, you will get new skills, you will acquire new skills, but right now we want to start where you are with what you have, and that is the skills that you have acquired over time. So think about if you work in corporate, if you worked at a job. Most of us are over a bit over 30 or 40. So, what skills do you have? What did you learn how to do? What are you pretty good at? Ask yourself these types of questions. I'm going to give you some questions to ask and think about, because this is how you're going to set these things together. You're going to need to answer these questions to start to do the research to see what kind of problems you can solve. So, when you reflect back on your work life, your personal life. This can be things you've done in your personal life as well. If you're like a mom and you volunteered a lot, or you have worked all your life, all those different skills that you've acquired. Think about that. Think about the roles you've played, you've been assigned to. Maybe you've had like a couple of jobs and you had specific roles in those jobs. Think about that. Think about specific projects, and then the daily tasks around those jobs. And then just take a Word doc, a pen and paper, and start to inventory that. Jot down each job, even if you've had like quite a few jobs. Maybe start backwards and work your way forward so you don't miss anything. Think back to maybe your first or second job, and what were you really good at? What did people tell you you were good at? What did you feel like you excelled in? List those tasks. What are the things that you started doing at your jobs? And you can list them separately if you want, or you can just kind of throw them in a big mix mismatch together. Whatever works for you. I think kind of like linear. So I started backwards and worked my way forwards. And what I saw was there was kind of a trend. It was mostly logistic style, like planning, buying, ordering, organizing, those type of things. And then I had a lot of administrative because I've always like worked in jobs where they aren't ever going to have enough people. They'll just cross train the people that work there. So I ended up doing a lot of different types of tasks, which I'm sure a lot of you have had that experience too. But this is one way to take advantage of those skills that you learned that were kind of forced on you. So list those skills out, list those roles that they labeled you, whatever role you got hired for, because that will help later on when you start looking at solutions. And then list what were the primary responsibilities, because a lot of times at jobs you'll have the things that you're primarily responsible for, but hey, you have these skills, so people will ask you to do other things, or maybe you jumped in and did other things anyway just to make it easier for yourself. What were your primary responsibilities? What specific problems did you constantly solve for your team, your department, or even clients? Maybe you work for a company that had clients individual, or you're like me. Most of the time I was in a department. When I was in the military, I was in like a company, platoon. So what problems did you consistently solve? Like an example of that is even when I transitioned from military to corporate, I still stayed in the same line of logistics, administrative, compliance. I started working a lot in regulation and compliance, and that added a whole nother ball of skills that I acquired after it, and they all work together. So think about those skills that you have and what problems you consistently solving, going into organizations, structuring, putting structure where there was none. Like there would be a lot of record keeping and things that I did that they were still using paper. So I had to organize it so we could move to a digital version. So that was usually thrown in my lap to get that project started. So that became something that got added to my list because that was going to be key in moving into work with solopreneurs, because my business was going to be totally virtual. So there would be no like local going to visit anybody or working with clients that way. Everything was going to be local. Everything's going to be electronic. So that was one avenue that I could offer support, because a lot of people were still doing a lot of things by pen and paper. So I added that to the list. And then, are there some processes or things that you were responsible for streamlining? A lot of times when you work in admin and logistics, you do all the behind the scenes work and people only see the stuff, the end result. If you're planning events or ordering supplies, they only see that the thing showed up when they wanted to show up. But what projects were you responsible for streamlining, making things happen faster, or even setting up the whole process for them? Write all those activities down and the tasks that were involved, because once you see, you're going to really see that you have quite a bit of capabilities and skills. And what were the skills that you relied on the most? Like with me, it was like being organization or problem solving without support. Like there was nobody that was going to come in, I had nobody to go to. I had to figure things out on my own. So being able to do that, negotiations, when I was in logistics, I could negotiate. Most of the time it was just being pleasant and approachable to people to negotiate different price points than others that would come up. So whatever skills you had in that arena, list those as well. Think about times that you have gone through a transformation, because some of these problems that need to be solved, they don't need a high degree of amazing or complicated skills. Sometimes they just need to know that you have done the thing that they want to do and you did it with success, and you have a framework or a process for them to get it done faster. That's where your transformations come in, or the things that you've experienced and gone through come in. Because I was able to do that as well with, starting and growing a business as far as a couple of different areas, but you may be a person that you've experienced some type of transformation, dramatic, either business wise or personal wise, and you want to be able to walk others or help others go through the same type of transformation. Similar, like Debbie, I know you've gone through major transformations, and that's what your business is going to be about, helping other women go through a similar transformation of dramatic weight loss and being able to change, be able to change your whole body, how you move, everything. So think about transformations as well. Don't overlook those, because a lot of us go through major transformations going into adulthood, maybe transforming from maybe you were married a long time and then your transformation into singlehood, or a transformation into from living with your children all their lives, and then they leave and you transform the transformation into an empty nester. That can be very dramatic for some. And some people don't know, they don't have a path out of that. They weren't prepared for it. So someone maybe that navigated that transformation in a powerful, positive way may have shortcuts and tools for someone else to do the same thing. But listing all your skills, listing all your things that people rely on you, that you rely on yourself for, the tasks, the skills that you use the most is really what I'm getting at. Also, think about the times that you felt overlooked. What kind of contributions did you make that you know that you were the one that did that, fixed that problem, and maybe somebody else came by and took credit, like your manager or whatever, or they just kind of poo-pooed that, that's not a big deal. How can those contributions become the foundation of your offer? Because a lot of times we excel, especially women. You're excelling, you're doing all these different things, but you pretty much get pushed behind the scenes, or you're invisible and someone else is taking the credit and like, oh, this person couldn't have done that. I am a supervisor or manager, so of course I'm going to take the credit, or that's your job to do it, or whatever. But think about how that can be a cornerstone in your business, those particular skills, that contribution. Once you've done that, then you want to reflect on what the top 3 responsibilities were. You want to think about that, because you only want to pick your top 3 for everything, because then you're going to start to go do the research to find out what problems you can solve, whether your top 3 responsibilities, the biggest problems that you solved, and then skills you consistently used and excelled at. You want to do that. Find those skills and identify them. Top 3 for everything. And then your overlooked contributions, your top 3 things that you did really well and you were overlooked. Either somebody took credit for it, or they just didn't even acknowledge that you did an amazing job. Then you want to think about the things that you may feel competent, but others have also assured you that you're very competent in that area. Like, what are you the go-to person for? Do you have like your circle of friends or colleagues or even family members that when they want this particular thing done, they come to you for it? You want to list those things too. Because a lot of times we don't think that we have these special skills until someone else tells us we do. Like when I did that inventory, I was so surprised what people said about me. And I did colleagues, I did, business colleagues, I did friends, I did family members, yet they all seemed to say similar things about me. And that was eye-opening, because again, sometimes we just think, oh, this is normal stuff that everybody does. And it's really not. But you make your inventory and then you go out and ask others to do something similar. It could be simple questions like, hey, what do you think I'm like just fantastic at? What do you think I'm really good at? Especially with people in your family, they will tell you what you're really good at. They see you all the time. They see you in your prime. They see you, all the time. They've known you. And your friends too. They can tell you the things that they come to you for, or they, see others come to you for. Next, you're going to list out of all those different things, Okay, what are the things that genuinely help somebody that you did out of all those things that you've written down? Are there some things that people really were like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for helping me with that? They helped someone individually, not just, oh, your team, that's a project that we had to do. Some of those skills, who did they help? And what kind of tasks did you complete without any problem? They're just like super duper. You were doing them so fast that you had to slow down because you don't want to be working too fast at work, so they give you more work. Those type of tasks, things that just come second nature to you. Those are going to be really important too, because at the beginning you do want those tasks that are they're very easy for you to accomplish, yet they do solve some type of problems. And then what results did you consistently achieve that impacted like the bottom line at the places where you worked, or impacted if you were helping an individual, like maybe somebody helped somebody else. They do all the taxes for their family members because they're really good at that. That helps those people's bottom line. Or same thing at your job, if you're doing something and it normally costs a lot, when it's chaotic and nobody organizes it, and then you come in and organize it and structure it, and they save money. List those tasks too, what kind of results you got for that, and be able to look at that list and reflect on it. I felt most competent when I or others came to me for advice for the different things. Think about it, because people have come to you for advice for things. That's because they know you're really good at it, or they consider you to be an expert at that. And those are definitely things to list. The things that you're really good at handling quick and it doesn't take a lot of energy from you. Hello, Ty. It doesn't take a lot of energy for you. Those tasks and things that you consistently achieve. You can even go back and look at some past reviews if you want. Early on in the stage, I was very confident and comfortable with my logistic and administrative experience. Debbie says, I was a general manager at one of the biggest lodges in Yellowstone. Oh my goodness. I trained all the new help in the restaurant and the bar. I ran the front desk and so many jobs. I know restaurant food is crap. Not all of them, but no, that's a large skill set. Now, how can you break that down? I mean, that sounds like a lot of organization. Sounds like logistics, sounds like skills around working with people. There's several different categories of things. So break those projects down. Break them down. That sounds huge. And managing people is no simple task as well. That's a huge task when you're good at managing people. I mean, herding cats. Come on now, that's a lot, and that's a skill that a lot of people do not have. I have worked for quite a few managers that have zero managing skills. So for you to have them and be able to manage a huge lodge like the one at Yellowstone, that's huge. So reflect on that. Reflect on the achievements how you consistently were able to train up new people quickly so that they could go into the next. When you had your high seasons, you probably got more people in. You're able to do that. You were able to make sure your supplies were all ordered and everything inventoried properly. You're able to do all those types of running a restaurant and a bar where they have all these different regulations required. Yeah, that's quite a few skill sets that you have to depend on if you want to think about that. So we just talked about figuring out your skill set based on the existing skills you have, what you do at your job or employment, what other people consider you to be an expert in, what you are the expert in for them, what do they come to you for, and how you help people. We just talked through that, how you can start listing it separately. Oh wow, Debbie, they were fighting over you. Oh, see, this is the biggest thing about figuring out what you want to do in your business. You start with the skills you have, because we acquire so many skills. We acquire them and they are special and different. We just have to inventory them and then from there move and see what problems we solve. Because I'm sure you solved quite a few problems for those facilities. If they're fighting over you, I know you solved quite a few problems between people and inventory and alcohol and food and yeah. That is a part of life. And some of us, we forget, we moved on from it. That's why I want you to take some time to list all the different skills that you have. Go think backwards and look at those different jobs. What did they come to you for? What did they consider you to be great at? What did you do easily? Those skills count too, because that might be something that you can jump into pretty quickly and feel confident about. Because the key to starting a business or having any kind of offer is feeling confident that you can deliver it. Because when we come up with these offers, you have to feel confident. But if it's something that you don't feel like, oh, I know how to do that, but I didn't really do it often, you're not going to feel confident about enrolling someone in your program that solves that problem for them. You want the things that you can do easily, that you can just, move, solved, it's done. You want to start with those. So you've discovered what your skill sets are. And now you're going to go through and inventory them and see if they fit. Now you can use the internet for that. You can kind of put the skills together and ask, give me some job descriptions for things that these skill sets, and it will give you some job descriptions to get an idea of what categories they put them in. Now, mine were pretty straightforward. Logistics, admin, and compliance, I immediately was thinking business owners, smaller business owners that have less of a budget to be paying separate people to organize. And they usually start like by the seat of their pants, or they're not very organized. So that's how I got my idea. And then I started kind of doing the research to see who used virtual assistants, who used support, who wanted support. And I found that there are lots of people that wanted support. They just couldn't pay a big, huge team or company, or they weren't sure what it was that they needed. The biggest thing is being able to evaluate what your customer needs. So do the research, figure out and get an idea what problems can be solved with your set of skills. And you'll be surprised. Do some research. My favorites are going to Reddit and other forums to ask questions and see what people say. They've got entrepreneur subreddit threads. They've got all types of different threads, and you can ask questions, but it's easier and more compelling to go in and see what questions other people have asked and then read from there, because the answers that you get back from other people asking the question first, the answers are lots of intel for you to figure out, that's a good idea. Oh yeah, my favorite is definitely Reddit. When you're kind of searching keywords, if you're going to use a keyword, I like Answer the Public, but I like Reddit, and I like what's the Quora. I do those two the most. It used to be another one. I think they got bought out by Quora. It was Ask Jeeves or something. I did that when I was starting my business. I was always in Ask Jeeves for different things. But I also looked, when I started like looking at Facebook and stuff, that was like the one platform I was on. This was before I even knew about YouTube. I would go on Facebook in groups and ask questions and see what other questions people asked about business. Like I would join women business groups and go there for research and like, let me go find some groups with small business owners that are women and see what questions they're asking. And then once I found some groups with virtual assistants and people that worked virtual support for business owners, I was in hog heaven there. They had all the answers. Most of those groups they were led by somebody that had been doing it for years, and they could tell different things. But the thing that kind of moved me was buying this book. I think it was the Virtual 2-Minute. What was it? I used to have it up here. It's somewhere, but it was a book. I'll reference it later. But I read that book, and the book guided me toward finding research. So that was very helpful. But I love those forums because sure, you can ask your own questions, but a lot of times you don't know what questions to ask. So you can put terms like, I think I would put virtual assistant in there, and in the entrepreneur one or whichever threads I was in, and then just pull up and see what topics popped up with that. A lot of times it will be like how to hire your virtual assistant, how to be a virtual assistant. What do you need to ask or have your virtual assistant? What do you have your virtual assistant do? And then that's where I found that all these things that they do, I'm like, hey, I already know how to do this stuff. I'm going to start there. And that's how you will discover whatever it is you're going to do to solve a problem. Because the more I dug under that, then I found there was a strong need for virtual support. There was a strong need, in particular, for people starting businesses, or they had started, but they were overwhelmed by all the things they had to maintain, in particular, the technology. And I knew I was really good at that because I had been working in not as IT, but in an IT department. I had to learn all this stuff, taught myself a lot of the software myself. So I knew I could help those women that way. So figure out your skill set, figure out all the things you're capable of and other people know you to be capable of. I want to stress how important that is, because for me, I kept thinking like, oh, I don't know how to do anything that other people don't know how to do. I don't want you to think like that. And the quickest way for you to stop thinking like that is to ask other people what they think you're good at. Believe me, you will be like, whoa, okay, yeah. Because for everything that you think you're ordinary or everybody knows it, there's a bunch of people who are like amazed when you know the answer to those questions because they do not know them. They don't have that skill set. So take on this mindset that I have some skills that will be desirable for solving a problem, because all of this, starting a business, creating income, is about solving other people's problems. So once we get our skill set together, then we can go start to see what kind of problems are we going to solve. And from there, who has those problems and who out of those people that have them do we want to work with? Because that's kind of a process. And once you get your skill sets done and kind of hone down, narrow down, because you probably have quite a few skill sets that you can fall back on, especially people that have done like in corporate where you work for larger, like a department or something. Most of us have multiple skills that we either taught ourselves or were taught because they didn't want to hire another person. So we have an abundance of skills. It's just up to us to figure out, okay, which of these skills will translate into a problem solver? Because I know quite a few project managers that worked in project management that became event planners. They did not do it merely because they liked project management and they kept projects rolling in on time. They actually enjoyed putting events together. So there's got to be a key in there that's something that you actually enjoy or do really well that will trigger, hey, I'm going to consider starting this type of business because yes, I'm fantastic at doing these things, but there's this other piece that I actually like. And I'm really good at that too. So I'm going to see if I can put them together. That's your job, to figure out those skills, figure out which ones will solve a problem that people will actually invest in, because there's different levels of problems, and we'll probably talk about that on another live. But we want to focus on, remember, I always say, we don't want to focus on the vitamin painkiller. We want to focus on the painkillers. So problems that are just vitamins, we don't want those. We want the painkiller problems. So, because those are the ones people are going to invest in. So I know there are quite a few newer forums, but I haven't been using them a lot. I still go use my same old Quora and Reddit are still my favorites, because people are just, I feel like they're more honest there because they're so anonymous that they will explain out the truth. And there's less spammy selling on those two either. Some of the other, now when you go to Facebook to look for, to look for research and to find your audience, yeah, there's going to be quite a few shenanigans going on over there. But just, be discerning and pick a couple of groups, go in, do your looking, make some notes. Ty is asking, it's good to know that oh yeah, absolutely. You notice I did not say AI. AI is great for research, but it just kind of scrubs things. So you don't know what's legit, what's not. It's easier to go into the forums and look for specific questions and see the answers that people write out. And then, because a lot of times if somebody's saying something and it sounds like caca, somebody will follow up with an actual factual answer and call them out and say, hey, that's not true based on so and so and so and so. You can do whatever, whatever, whatever. I see that a lot, and that's kind of why I still like Reddit. Quora is a bit like that too, and neither one of them are super spammy. And I do like those. I don't really send people to social media, not social media, to AI immediately. That's still not tested. I don't feel like stuff that's important to me, very important for research, I'd rather just go do it the regular way. You can use it. I'll let it give me some quick ways to organize something for productivity, but I am not trust. Ty says I would not trust AI for that kind of research. This is where you want to hear from real people. Absolutely. You definitely don't want to go to AI trying to figure out your target audience. No, no. This is where you're going to hear. You're going to go to the social media platforms, those groups where people communicate. They have like a high head count, and someone's running it, and people are constantly engaged in there because they're going to ask questions, and someone's going to answer them, whether it's the person running the group or someone else knowledgeable. They will answer them. You can even start attending some virtual events. I started doing that right away. I started attending webinars and live trainings because that's another place that people will ask the questions that need to be asked. So there will be like, when I was a virtual assistant, I would attend live trainings for business owners that had questions about technology, about marketing, about all that. I would attend it and look at the questions they asked the person that was giving the event. Because 9 times out of 10, the person had their training that they were giving. They weren't asking a gajillion questions. They weren't going to answer. They might answer a few. So I would be taking notes of the questions that they asked and say, oh, yeah, I know how to do that. And I know how to do that too. Okay, these are things that I need to add to my little list of skill sets that I'm going to put in my offer. And you will get lots of intel that way. Absolutely. Attending events that you think will be focused for your audience. Maybe you don't know your audience yet, but take a wild guess and start attending some webinar trainings, live events. Also in those groups you join, I was pretty much a lurker. I did not like do anything, but I joined, introduced myself, and then just look. I was reading other people's comments. I would look to see when the group was hosting trainings, which trainings they participated in, which trainings were like dead and nobody wanted to go to, because those topics gave me information about what's important to that audience, which was going to be my target audience. And you do want to hear from real people, asking real people that know you what you're good at. That's very important. And I know people will say, oh, I don't know many people. Unless you're living under a rock, you know some people. You know some people that have been around you. And if you have been living under a rock, it's time to come out. If you're going to have a business, it's time to come out from under your rock. I was shy at the beginning. I was very shy, but I knew I wanted this business. So I knew I was going to have to come out of that shell. And you will have to too, and communicate. It's pretty simple. You just be nice, straightforward, meet people, start to connect and have conversations. Simple. Not easy, but simple. So start to do that. Think about that. There's lots of things that we do as business owners that are not comfortable, maybe not even fun. But once we decide this is what we want to create this business that's going to offer us freedom, we want what we want, then we have to do what we have to do to get it. So I know it may be tough, but it's doable. Go talk to people. That is the source, because guess what? The clients are going to be those people. So you need to get the stuff straight from the horse's mouth. Okay, so doing that research, you've come up with a couple of things that you think are great, your ideas for products or whatever, and you're going to the forums, looking at what people are talking about. Maybe you've come away with some ideas. Now it's time to figure out if somebody's willing to spend some money on it. Like, at first, what did I say? No, I was just thinking, oh, maybe I can help somebody organize organize their records or something. I was like, no, nobody cares about that. But they did care about organizing their systems so that their workflow mattered and went through. Especially one of the first projects was like this person that had a bakery, and their records were chaos. The only records that were not chaos were the ones he had to send to the accountant. But the other things kept him from making recurring income because he never knew that people were making requests. Like he wasn't sending out a list to people when we had sales. He was just dependent on posting stuff out at stores, and it was just messy. But that got me thinking, you know what? Yeah, maybe all these business owners are like this. The service providers, the coaches, the people that do consulting, maybe all of them are so busy doing their thing that they're not taking care of the other stuff until they have to, like it's on fire. So then I thought, okay, they do need a virtual support because even though those people were local, I wasn't going to be working for anybody local because I had a job. So I had to have something that would work around my schedule. And I wasn't going to be, and I wasn't interested in having another job going sitting at somebody's place. That was not the plan. So next, we start to package. We're going to package those ideas that we have. And if that's kind of sounds daunting, it won't once you start to get the different pieces together and you go look at the forums and do the research. So many times we want to skip the research, but the research is the biggest piece. The research will tell you, one, you're on the right path, and two, what people are actually going to be willing to pay. Because we want those out the gate. We don't want to have to fumble through in the dark to find out, okay, right now I'm always in front of people that don't spend any money. I need to get in front of people that will spend money. Rather than doing that, you'll find out where those people live and go hang out there. And then you won't have to deal with that. So the goal is to jump into the research right away. Don't live there too long because that can be problematic too. Doing research to prepare to do research to prepare to do research. No, don't do that. Ask me how I know about that. We don't want to do that. We don't want to waste that much time. Go to some forums, check out some groups. And I say Facebook only because my audience was pretty much hanging there back then. They're still not in all these other places. And most of the other places I don't go anyway. So go where you think your audience is going to be hanging out and go get the intel there. Join a couple. Don't overwhelm yourself. And don't hang out there too much either. Don't go and start communicating and chit-chatting and going and attending their events. The goal is to get your research, your answers to your questions documented and move on to the next source. We don't want this to become a black hole. And just like we don't want the research to become a black hole. But the research, I can't say it enough. The research is key. This will keep you from wasting your time with projects that don't matter. And when I say don't matter, nobody's going to pay you for them. That's the number one reason that a lot of businesses go out of business, because they don't have a market that's going to pay. And you can't stay in business if you don't have a market that's going to pay. So, do I have any questions? Any questions about figuring out how to use your experience to shape your business? If I don't have any questions, I think that's it for. Oh, Ty is saying, I like your advice about research. Yes, Ty, research is and it answers so many questions for you. Because we live in our head sometimes. We think, oh, it will do this, it will do that. When you go get the research, there's the proof. Then you're like, oh, okay, that's obviously not going to work. But this will. So now I can focus my energy on that. And that's why I say, once you gather your skill sets, go start doing the research of what kind of problems can you solve with those skills. Debbie says, yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to use my old skills with new. And that can be a good combination, because I've acquired skills over time, but my main focus is the skills that I started with. And as you acquire skills, you will be able to mold and shape either new offers or tweak the existing offers. I've evolved maybe 3 or 4 times in my business in the time I've been in business. And that's because I'm evolving things I want to do, people I want to work with, but adjusting for the new acquired skills that I have, because you always want to include those as well. So, yeah. Well, one way to start, Debbie, is to figure out what's the transformation for the client. Acquire based on your older skills and your newer skills, what transformation, especially if you're keeping the same audience. Oh, absolutely. Ty says, Debbie, I see you being able to use your restaurant experience with meal planning for the people on GLP-1s. Absolutely. You have a vast knowledge of food prep and some of those things. You will definitely be able to help those people that you work with that are on the GLP-1s. Oh, Debbie says, Happy New Year. Thank you, Debbie. This year is going to be amazing, amazing, amazing. I already know it. We've already claimed it. It's going to be amazing. So, no more questions. That's it for today, ladies. And Happy New Year. And here's to having the best, most profitable year ever. Thank you.